two different policy documents issued at the weekend. The Central Bank of Nigeria has raised the bar on Know Your Customer protocols and charged financial institutions on implementations. Now, the guidelines handed down to FIs, that is financial institutions who have been regularly accused of aiding financial crimes, with titles Guidance Note on Politically Exposed Persons and CBN Customer Due Diligence Regulations 2023 contains specifics, call to actions banks should execute to combat financial crimes. Now, the regulation may have raised questions on the line between KYC, that is Know Your Customer, and the right to privacy, with the Central Bank of Nigeria regulations and directive, meaning banks will have to obtain details of customers' social media addresses, which violates the rights of Nigerians to freedom of expression and privacy. Now, it is said that the purported mandatory requirements would inhibit Nigerians from freely exercising their human rights online and may also be misused for political and other unlawful purposes. Are these additional details really necessary, and won't it put citizens in jeopardy when information are compromised? So we will be putting that question to our guest this morning. His name is Mukhtar Mohammed, a financial analyst and CEO at Shared Dynamic Solutions. It's nice to have you around, Mukhtar.
Thank you very much.
So to facilitate better understanding, looking at these two policy documents, what are the provisions and what do they entail?
Well, I don't think it's anything new, but it's just maybe you are trying to improve upon what you already had before. There's nothing new about what the CBN is doing, just trying to add more information. Before now, we already have a KYC, you have your email address, you have your phone numbers, you have your house address. I think what they are just trying to do is just make sure that now everything is about social media. Even most people, when you want to complain about your bank, you go to social media to complain. And most people also have been fraudulently defrauded of their money through the social media. So some people use different handles. So maybe by that, they'll be able to tie everybody to his handle. Like you said in your introduction, he may have his own challenges also that may have to do with security. But then I think it's nothing new. It's nothing new. It's just add up some of this. And again, the peculiarity of Nigerians is that sometimes we move from where we are to another place and we don't even change address. But one thing Nigerians don't change is their social media handle. So maybe through that, you'll be able to contact them in one issue or the other. I think it's just the bank widening the scope of their KYC to be able to deal with their customer complaints sometime or ask questions from their customers.
But then, Mukhtar, let's look at it from the legal angle. Section 37 of the 99 Constitution, I'm just going to read it out according to what the Constitution says, that the privacy of citizens, their homes, correspondence, telephone conversations, and telegraphic communications is hereby guaranteed and protected. So when you are actually divulging, when you're actually giving out your social media handle to these banks, don't you think it's pretty much a violation of this particular constitution? Because, of course, these banks will have access to every intricate detail of every customer on their platform. So don't you think this is a violation?
Well, it depends on what type of violation you are talking about. I know your name, I go there, I can go into your handle and see what you are doing. So did I violate your right? I don't, because they also have their own, social media also has its own security. And also you can also block the bank and decide that, look, this, you can report the bank to your company, you can decide to block them. That doesn't mean they will block your account. So there's a lot of things you can do. You still have the prerogative in your own side to handle those issues. So I don't think that should be majorly of an issue that they're intruding into your privacy. If that is the case, then that means all of us are intruding into each other's privacy. Because sometimes you may have to go to my social media handle to get some details about me. Does that mean you're intruding into my privacy? Whatever you put on the social media, you should know that it's for private consumption. So if you have anything different, you don't have to put it. No, they're not telling you to go and tell, the bank will not tell you to put your account balance on the social media. The bank will not tell you to answer questions like they always say. They will not be the one to call you to transfer money to your social media handle. A lot of people have done that and they've gotten themselves burned up, their money stolen. So definitely, I think it's just because of the security challenge we have. Cyber crime also is on the high side. Those also, because I've had people, especially during the pandemic and during the time we have during the period of the Naira scarcity, a lot of people were swindled of their money through their social media handles. So all these are check and balance, because if I'm beginning to communicate with a bank with a different social media handle, the bank will be able to know that, okay, this is not the person communicating with you, because the social media handle that is giving me is different from the social media handle that is in his bank details. So it's a win-win thing as far as I'm concerned for everybody.
But then when you look at these these CDD guidelines, looking at the provision and what it encompasses, it has to do with you presenting your legal name, addresses, permanent and residential address, contact address, telephone, email, social media handles. And you discover that with the BVN, the bank verification number, the national identification number, and other kinds of security measures that has been put in place in time past, you discover that you still have all these details in them. You have the date of birth of these people. You have even public positions. So you already have these kind of checks and balances in banks. And some financial experts have come out to say that this is more or less an over-regulation. It's more or less like doing too much, asking for too much information, because what they are trying to say is that they're trying to ensure that customers are secure and trying to monitor and inhibit fraudulent activities. But this is more or less like over-regulating the financial space, because you already have the details of these people. So why go ahead with your social media handles?
Well, the financial fee is already over-regulated, as you know, because it's the key driver of the Nigerian economy. For me, I don't see any issue with it, and I don't think it's so much of a big deal giving them a social media handle, unless they have other plans than what we know. Remember that banks these days do interact with their customers through their social media handle. Some of them even interact you through your WhatsApp. They have details interaction. Sometimes they interact with your Twitter, gets to know you personally. They have all these handles on their own platform already. So I don't think it's something that is, but I agree with you. We have too much intense, because now they're acting as a social media handle. You go to the Nigerian Immigration Service, they will say actually your social media handle very soon again. You even go to get visas from countries. I mean, you are traveling, you are feeling, even entry country. They ask you for a social media handle also to get a visa these days. They say you must put your social media handle, because sometimes again that enhance security. They want to know the type of person that you are. What are you into? What do you do? They sometimes go to check all these details. It's all about check and balances. Once you put your money in the bank, it's no more so much of your money like that. Even if it's your money, they still have a way to regulate it. That's why sometimes you go to the bank, they tell you to sign. You say, okay, you are the personal person that comes there. They are seeing your photo. They still tell you to sign, to counter sign. All these are checks and balances, because sometimes a lot of people have been able to exploit this means to get money from people. So I think, I know Nigerians are like, why do you need my social media handle? The constitution deprives me of my privacy. Or like I told you before, that means I am intruding into your privacy, you're intruding into my privacy, because or anybody that is in a social media, once you put your social media handle, whether on Twitter, whether on LinkedIn, whether on Instagram, whether on Facebook, you're already exposing yourself to everybody to know who you are and what you do. So I don't think that should count in that. But if you are saying that they are beginning to publish your personal details, then that's a problem, because the bank will even tell you that despite you having a social media, they will not ask for your PIN code, they will not ask you for your password, they will not ask you to send money. So definitely, it's still all about check and balances. As far as I'm concerned, it's not so much of a big deal. But unless in Nigeria, you never can say, because when they came up with the cashless policy, we thought it's a financial policy. But at the end of the day, we are beginning to realize that it was a political. So you never can know what the security agents or the banks are up to. But if you look at it realistically, it shouldn't be a problem. But is there an underlying tune on why they are asking people that social media handle? That's what we will have to find out with time.
All right, we'll have to find out. I'm talking about cashless policy. Let me just intimate you with a research study that came out recently that was between 2011 and 2023. Now, it was reported that only about 34 to 45% of Nigerians are banked. And after that, only 9% make do with digital platforms for their for transactional purposes. And just about less than 40% of Nigerians make do with card for ATMs, for different transactions. So what now happens to about 55% of Nigerians that are unbanked? Because we're talking about a cashless policy that has not yet peaked. And we're talking about situations whereby we're trying to regulate the financial system, reduce fraud and other fraudulent activities, as it were. But we have about a larger chunk of the Nigerian population that do not make do with either having a bank account or digital platforms to transact their businesses.
Well, this were the issue that we had with the cashless policy when it came in. Because we realized that you have money agents, super agents. Those are the people that actually were driving the cashless policy, especially for the unbanked Nigeria. So most Nigerians in rural areas still depend on the POS terminal for their transactions. Well, like we said, that space also has considered a space for corrupt tendency. So what you need to do is to be able to regulate those space. So we'll go back to about regulation again. It's able to regulate those space. Because when you're saying the unbankable Nigeria, most of them, especially most of these unbankable Nigeria, are not in the urban area, they're in the rural area. And because we don't have a lot of banks, sometimes they have to go up to 4 to 5 kilometers. And the security challenges that we are facing as a nation now. So definitely, I think the whole idea would have been better if we were able to get the community bank or the microfinance bank on stream working. We wouldn't have had all these challenges that we are grappling with now. But again, I think it's a big task for the CBN. Even in the urban area, there are a lot of people also here that don't even use ATM because they are not so comfortable with it, not because they have think of the security, because you have cases of that money was transferred out of your account using ATM. So I think what we need to do is that the bank needs to improve on their cyber security for some people that are not using their cards. And also because when they ask you in the bank, you do use your card, and you say, look, this is the way you give me the card. So it's easier for them to deal with you to return your money than, oh, I use the card in point B on point. Oh, they say it was run from that point B that they were able to transfer your money or collect your money. So it's all about infrastructure. That's why we say the cashless policy was a good policy, but you didn't have the infrastructure to match up with it. So my main challenge is that, do we really have the infrastructure to get all the Nigerians into the digital platform? We need to build those robust infrastructure. That is why we had the challenge we had before now. So we need to continue to build. If you want to, good enough, the incoming administration, the president in his inaugural speech, have said that the old and the new will continue to work hand in hand, even maybe till after December. So there's enough time for banks to begin to build their digital platform. Because if we pride ourselves to be the largest economy in Africa, we must do it the way globally it is done, to portray Africa as the next financial hub of the world.
Yes, that actually talks about Nigeria's image within the global community, because I remember last year the Basel Institute of Governance actually tagged Nigeria as a high-risk country for money laundering and terrorist financing. And of course, you know that because of this, Nigeria has been grey listed by FATF rather. So I'd like to find out how effective are CBN's policies gone in combating money laundering in the past in the country?
They've tried. If you look at where we are coming from, they came up with the BVN that has also helped. You can get security agent arresting point this person and this person. The only challenge I've had is when it comes to, for instance, somebody is robbed and persons go to the bank and the bank is saying, look, you know what, you still need to go and get a police report, and it's my account. I'm just telling you I'm robbed, and please. So person they transferred my money to this from my bank to another bank. You say, oh, for us to even check the account, you need to have a security, a security clearance or get it. So that's, for me, is a challenge. But to the cybersecurity, I think we've come up with a lot. If you remember how much bank normally lost in terms of cyber crime comparable to now. We're not saying it's all over. You know that even the cyber thieves, like I want to call them, also are working behind the scene to improve upon themselves to beat the system. So that's why they keep working. But in terms of illicit transfers of funds, I think it has drastically reduced in Nigeria. If you go by the recent report from most of all this intelligence agency that has to do with money transfer. We've seen the BVM especially has been a game changer in that area.
All right, so when it comes to monitoring these politically exposed persons and to combat issues with money laundering, financial crimes, and all that, is it going to involve maybe systematic profiling or random profiling? In the sense that, is it going to be about monitoring some certain set of people based on maybe demographics or research or category or background? Or is this going to be randomly looking at people, their bank accounts, and seeing how to monitor their financial dealings and to, because I need to understand, how will the monitoring take place?
You see, sometimes in this station, the way they do their monitoring system is very different from what you're talking about. Sometimes I have an incident, I think like 2 years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago, where the Security and Exchange Commission came to do like KYC to monitor transaction in an account in the stockbroking firm that I use. And they didn't even get to see me. They didn't even get to know me. They just saw my name, Mukhtar Mohammed. And they say I'm politically exposed. Maybe because because I bear the name Mukhtar Mohammed makes me politically exposed. So sometimes the way our security agency go about going about their activities, I said, and then I had to come to them. I said, look at me, this is me. I've never had any political appointment. I've never had any dealing with politicians. Is it my? Is all? He said, well, your name, your name, your name. I said, does that name is going to that you must be a politician if you have that name? So sometimes the way they go about it in developed societies, what you just said, it is not about random. Yes, it's sometimes it could be random, sometimes it could be specific. Now let me give you, if you have an account in how it works in developed economies is that if you have an account and that account has not gotten more than 20,000 naira, the day that account gets to 21,000 or 22,000 or 30,000, there will be a red flag. They'll flag the account down and say, look, let's look at this guy used to have only 20,000. All of a sudden, how is he getting 30,000, 40,000, or even 100,000? But in Nigeria, it's not like that. The banks will always find. And again, you mustn't forget that every transaction above 1 million naira, the bank is supposed to report it to the Nigerian financial unit, Nigerian financial units, Nigerian intelligent financial unit. You're supposed to report. You're supposed to report it to them. They are also there. So we have a lot of it. We have the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit. We have the EFCC. You have this anti-fraud unit, police. So you have all this. So it's all about duplication of it. It's just all about implementation, regulating. Begin to do what the law says you should do. So sometimes it's normal when you do transaction on 1 million, nobody even think about it, 10 million, 20 million. But what that rule says that if an individual does a transaction above 1 million, his details and everything is supposed to be reported to the security agents to be sure that these are not illicit form. But you know what it is. It doesn't really work like that.
So finally, now that we're seeing there's a bit of deficit in terms of implementation of these regulatory frameworks at combating financial improprieties and all that, do you think that technology can come into this to make it more efficient, make it more seamless, enforce the laws, and be cost effective?
Of course, yes. That's what the BVM has done. BVM has gone enough. They don't come out to tell you. But a lot of people that collect money from bank A to bank B and not ready to pay, they would rather take their money to bank B after collecting from bank A. BVM has exposed them. Once they put the BVM, the Bank Act has also mandated them to be able to transfer the money in whichever bank to the bank that is owing. So PVM has done a lot in that instance. Even in the area of tax payment, BVM also have helped in terms of knowing people are no more opening frivolous account before you have people have gone to 50 to 60 accounts, one individual. It's not possible again because of the BVM. So definitely that's another part of technology that's helped. And the banks are also improving on their technology. And these days we are beginning to have slim cardless ATM where they are only using your fingerprint. So all these are measures to improve efficiency also in their delivery of service, and also to guide against fraudulent activity, especially where you have to use your fingerprint, knowing fully that nobody's fingerprint is the same. So I think we are heading to the right direction. I must tell you that Nigerian banks are actually one of those places that are really, really over-regulated, even
Okay.
overseas
Okay.
function. Because when you go to the developed economy, it's not like this. Sometimes you do a transaction, it has gone. But the difference between them is that if that transaction is fraudulent, you don't have to wait 24 hours. They will reverse that and then continue their investigation. And
Okay.
once it's reviewed, they will but in Nigeria, they'll tell you to wait for 7 working days. I just hope they can improve upon that.
Yes, we hope that they can bring themselves up to speed in that regards. With them, thank you so much, Mukhtar, for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.